Retirement is often seen as a destination, but we believe it's an opportunity to pursue your passions, realize your dreams, and live a purposeful life. Great decisions, incredible lives. Retire with Intention podcast is about more than just money. It's about embracing the things that truly matter, the experiences, the relationships, and the impact you leave behind. Here is your host, John Creekmur.
Well, welcome to the Great Decisions, Incredible Lives, Retire with Intention podcast. And I'll tell you what, I am so excited today, as we are every single time we're together, is to walk together with conversations for people that I really have come to know and appreciate over the years, and to really take some time to introduce you to some different thoughts, some different ways to walk through life so that you can consider, how do you make a great decision to live your definition of an incredible life? And there's so many different ways to look at things, and oftentimes when we see them melding together as different backgrounds, it actually helps us to view things in a whole different light. And today I'm so excited to introduce you to a friend of mine, Michelle Kooi. And Michelle is from Durango, Colorado, and a beautiful area of the country. If you ever get a chance to head down into that neck of the woods, I mean, it's just a phenomenal area. And get back into nature and just love the entire element down there. It is just phenomenal. And so I encourage you to head down there. So Michelle's from Durango, and but you know, she comes to us today with a phenomenal background that I'm so excited to kind of walk through a number of conversations with her today. And I know you're going to walk away feeling blessed and encouraged, and also in a better spot to make some great decisions. Hey, Michelle, welcome to the show, and take a moment, if you would, and just kind of introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you so much for having me, John. Yeah, so I'm Michelle Kooi. I'm the founder of Confluence Coaching and Consulting, which is a business that really works with women kind of overwhelmed in their business or work, and helping them reconnect with themselves, reduce stress, and get really clear on what's important so they can live life with more intention and joy and purpose. But my background, I've spent the last 20 years as a CPA working in public accounting, but I actually have a degree in journalism, which was my first degree. And I worked for a number of years I worked in sales, customer service, operations of an environmental business, a number of different things. But I wasn't really connected and enjoying what I was doing, and wanted to find, and had always loved accounting. I had taken an accounting course in high school and been talked out of majoring that. So I went back to school when my kids were young and got a degree in accounting, and I've taught yoga. I have done a number of different things, but my favorite thing is connecting with my clients and really understanding what is important to them and what makes them tick, and connecting them with themselves really helps them better understand and be able to manage their life better, really, and their money.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when we first talked, I was really blown away just the fact how you have that technical background as far as with numbers and the CPA work. And I mean, just walking through that for that length of time in your career, it really speaks well as far as from a technical understanding as far as businesses and finances, how they work together. And yet just bring it through with your passion of really understanding people, understanding businesses, also understanding what it is that they're going through every day. It's that unusual melding, really, of the technical aspects of the finances, bringing together with that passionate heart of a coach or a teacher, which you mentioned a couple of different ways, even as far as a yoga instructor, is just helping people to walk through and learn so they can accomplish those huge goal objectives. It's a unique perspective that, quite honestly, most people are not introduced to. But then to bring it down to the small business owner, the female small business or business owner, and going through the busyness and craziness of life, and how we can all of a sudden become, at a spot where we have a lot of uncertainty, and then we get frozen in making decisions that we're not having joy in the moment. And so your perspective, I think, is so interesting, and it's just a melding of a lot of different areas. So as you've transitioned now, and so you've had, as far as with your website, as far as with Confluence Coaching .life, is the website as far as finding Michelle, and it'll be in the show notes. Folks, you're able to find things there. I encourage you to hop on the website. But when you've been working at that now for a couple of years, can you walk through to everybody how you really see coaching and consulting services together, how that helps individual navigate change? And the reason why I want to talk about change is that so oftentimes we go through life, we have our ideas set that we're going to be on a kind of a straight line maybe, or we have some expectations for how things are. and all of a sudden we get thrown with a wrench of a little bit of change coming our way. So how can walking through that coaching experience, how can that help people navigate change?
Yes, I love this question. And I love working with clients who are going through some sort of change or transition or wanting to. I mean, life is not static and it's not smooth. It's up and down. There is always going to be change. And change can brings up the unknown. It brings up uncertainty, which can be scary. But it can also bring huge opportunity as well. And so really working with clients to dive into that, to trust themselves, to trust their higher power, to trust what they know, and also surround themselves with people who maybe know things that they don't, and learn, be open to learning. And again, back to what I said earlier about connecting with themselves, really living and being authentic. And that can help them with making those decisions. So I work with people on a little bit of a somatic level, really. So in, being a CPA, most people think, oh, it's just very left brain, which it is. But this other side of me, this coaching side, I'm also very creative and very big picture and very right brain. So I bring those two together. I have the hard skills and the knowledge to walk them through maybe budgeting or debt reduction or, understanding their QuickBooks file or something like that. But on the other hand, really understanding emotions and emotional intelligence, and again, getting clear on values, I think is super important. It's so many people really don't know what their values are. And so we'll work on that. We'll work on trust with themselves, trust with other people, and kind of getting clear on digging deep within themselves as to maybe connecting some things to the past, some past trauma or different experiences have maybe colored things so that they're reacting in a certain way that maybe doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe it did at one time, but maybe it doesn't now. And so just creating a lot of awareness, which can really help with making those decisions, but also helping them get out of their head, because we can't always think through things. We need a different perspective, and that coaching aspect helps them see things from a different perspective and can help get them unstuck and move forward.
I want to come back to getting unstuck here in a second, if we can. Don't ever forget that one.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned that most people that they maybe don't know what their core values are. Maybe they have an idea, kind of, sort of, or they have a certain worldview that they operate under, but they never phrase it that way. Are there some things that you've learned in working with people to help them identify what those core values are?
Yes. I mean, it could be anything from what they gravitate to. What do they enjoy? What brings them joy? Where do they find themselves at their best? Getting feedback from other people can also help. I've had clients pull out a bank statement and go through, and where are you spending your money? That can also show some values, right? Just looking at that.
Right. It's interesting when you said that. That's a process that I encourage everyone to walk through, is just pick out your checking account statement or your debit card statement or credit card statement and just write down what you spent money on. And oftentimes that indicates kind of where our heart is. And so it kind of reveals that to us. I really have, we have this core concept that everyone needs to know what their core values are and then properly align their goals with their core values. Absolutely. And that seems to be missing in thinking. And I think, with working with people, helping them get to that point, it starts to really rephrase the conversation, reframe it, so they can actually sit down and say, okay, I do need to make some business decisions, or I need to make some personal financial decisions, but they're basing it on something which is more important to them, more in their heart, and not just off their cuff as far as it is with money. And it's just really incredible. Well, you mentioned trust, to trust what they know. What did you mean by that?
People can doubt themselves, whether they're looking at social media or they're getting feedback from friends or family members about what they should do. I hear people use that word should all the time. And I say, well, don't should on yourself, because look, going forward with intention or with what you want rather than what you should, because it comes with a different energy. It just really does. And really listening to yourself. And so that can be, getting quiet, whether I'm a big fan of meditation, but, not everybody meditates, but just getting quiet. And because we're so busy, we get up and are just turn the news on or whatever, and we are just go all day. until the time we go to bed. There's no time to think. There's no time to process. There's no time to be quiet. And that getting still, getting quiet, connecting, and that's where ideas can come in. That's where our emotions can come up, and our we store things in our body. And so being connected with your body also can help you. There's wisdom there that we can tap into when we get still.
It's interesting. Some of the, I've noticed myself personally, I wish we had talked a couple of years ago, Michelle. I know that recently Stacey and I have been talking a lot just about thinking and the way in which we think, and that we don't take time as a society to sit down and just think, and then sometimes empty our mind and say, let's just kind of be in the moment. Let's kind of think through things and then actually write down what we're thinking. And
journaling, is another way to kind of brain dump things out of our heads as well. Yeah.
So when you're working with people and you're trying to walk them through this entire conversation in coaching, where do you start in that conversation? Is it with the values conversation? Is it in figuring out who you are as an individual, where you want to go, or is it the numbers? Where do you find the best place to start that conversation to be?
I really start where they are. So it's not always the same, but I would say if you had to choose between the numbers and the values, definitely the values first. Oftentimes, especially if I have a client coming to me that is in a place of scarcity or fear or worry related to finances or money, jumping right into, the hard budgeting, Excel spreadsheets, or, looking at all that does is bring up more stress, more overwhelm. So we first need to really sit down and understand, what's going on? How are you feeling? How did you get here? Where do you want to be? And where's the gap? And what is the impact of what's happening now to you, to your family, to your health, to your, retirement, to everything, to your business, and getting clear on all of those things. And again, getting back to understanding if you're a business and, you need to have a vision and a mission statement. And so I want to know what that is. And if they don't have one, we'll work on that. So there's foundations that need to happen before we can get into the technical pieces.
And it's so interesting talking through this. We have listeners that come from a very diverse background. And so we have business owners that are here. We have corporate heads that listen. We have folks from consulting world. We have individuals. We have folks across all different ages. And yet the principles really seem to be the same. So whether we're talking about a business, a not-for-profit, or we're talking about an individual or a family unit, the principles really are the same though, right? As far as where we start is starting to identify those core values, identify the mission or purpose, and then from there say, where is it we want to go and what we want to accomplish, and then figure out that gap as far as how to get there. But sometimes, Michelle, I've noticed that sometimes things of life get in the way. During that whole season that we had from 2020 through 2022, in which we had a pandemic. There's a lot of outcomes from that period of time, and everyone's had different views on that season of time. And I think we could all sit around and maybe come up with a million different ideas on that. Maybe none of them actually agree, and that's okay. But I think that some of the things that we can say definitely came out of that period of time, though, was that people had with in their lives, the level of anxiety went up, and their burnout in life went up, and their burnout in their business life went up. Have you seen a similar phenomenon with the people you work with as it relates to anxiety and burnout? And then how can you help people maybe reset the conversation and get to a better spot in their business or else in their personal life as it relates to burnout?
Oh, absolutely. I can talk all day about this topic because I've personally experienced it several times to a point of having a serious health impact for myself. So I know what it feels like, and it creeps up on you. You kind of just think that you're tired, or it's just kind of this weight, like especially during the pandemic, there was so many different aspects of things going on. But health is one of my values. And so I love bringing that into the picture as well and connecting clients to that. So one thing during the pandemic is connection was lost. So that in-person connection, or just connection in general, people, we were shut down for a while, and we weren't able to hug people, or when we were able to get back together, or you had to keep your distance and and things like that. So that human connection was disintegrated for a while. And so but I feel that which created a sense of loneliness, which I find is still a thread that's out there in the world. And so really helping people build back and really again, back to what's important. And, from my perspective, if your health is compromised by stress or anxiety or worry, it's hard to be fully present in any place in your life. It's hard to be 100 your best at work, with your kids, with your spouse, with your friends when you are exhausted. So really diving into that and helping with tools to address that, whether recommending, many of my clients are also in mental health therapy for anxiety is very common, but some are not. But there's different tools that we can use, whether we're needing that or not, that can help calm the nervous system. I mean, that's one thing that I love about yoga and meditation is it does calm the nervous system, but there are other tools that we can do. And I believe in food as medicine, so I'll even dive into that as well. I have a certification in holistic health coaching as well.
It's amazing how it's all connected. And I know with so many people, we're always in a different really kind of place as far as with transition or change in our life. And that seems to be a continual in life, right? Is that maybe we're at the beginning part of a transition, maybe we're at the ending part, maybe we're just kind of going through it, we're not even recognizing the impact of change. And so when you kind of think, I know yourself professionally, you've been through a couple of transitions. You've been going from CPA, world as far as big firm, heading over to starting your own consulting coaching business. That's a large transition. And so when you walk through transitions, how does your transition coaching approach, I'll phrase it that way, your approach, you work with people, how does that help clients embrace the expected or even the unexpected aspects of change?
Well, that is a great question. So change and transition can be scary because, again, as I mentioned earlier, there's an unknown factor to it. There's an uncertainty. And when there's an uncertainty, we feel out of control. And we feel out of control, that brings up anxiety. So it's kind of a big loop. And so, but getting comfortable with uncertainty, we can't know what's going to happen next. We don't know when our last day is. We don't know, life can change in an instant. And so really looking at how do we want to live each day and design our life, our work that works best for us, that is most fulfilling, uses our best gifts, uses our best skills, and we're not going to be experts in everything. I tell my business clients, like, you didn't go into business, become an expert in taxes and accounting. You became an expert to graphic design or whatever it is that their specialty is. And so surrounding yourself with people who know things that you don't, that can support you and can educate you so that you have a little bit more information can help reduce that anxiety. And prepare you for uncertainty. So having a little bit more information, some planning, for different scenarios really can also help with that.
It seems like change is always around. And I think that you really spoke well as far as that entire process of how you navigate change. And first of all, we need to even accept that we're always going to be having change, some element of change going on. But I think it seems like the way that you were just talking about, the way that we navigate it is by having that process or plan in place, and then having a wise counselor come alongside you to help help you figure out things that we are not seeing ourselves, maybe to be aware of kind of that next step is going to happen. But truly by having that process, the way you walk through with people, I could just imagine it helps them kind of walk through change or walk through transition with a higher level of confidence, which also means a lower level of anxiety along the way. So it's all about the process of how you walk through it.
Yeah. And I also talk to them about how do they want to feel through that process. Yeah. So like somebody is going to be changing jobs or starting a business or selling a business, or their youngest child is going off to college, which is a big transition. What do you want to create next in that next phase, that period where there's a lot of unknowns, but how do you want to feel? What's important to bring up? Like there's seasons of our lives and there's, what's next? And how do you want it to feel? So not just thinking and, creating an outline and designing every every different thing, but how do you want it to feel as well?
Yeah.
So that there's an ease and a flow and a joy to it. It's not so hard.
Yeah, people, when they go through change in their business with their clients, I know, can imagine they're coming from varied backgrounds. They have a lot of different things that's happening in life as far as their business or their personal life and their financial life. And sometimes they're navigating those things individually. But other times, if they're married or they have a significant relationship, they're navigating through with another partner in some way. And so I guess the question would be, how would you find that is as far as communication? Is that something where do you think it's best to bring the other individual into the conversation, or maybe not so much?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was just thinking this a little bit earlier. So I have done some couples financial coaching, and communication is so important, and everybody being on the same page. So there may be there's usually one partner in the relationship who is maybe doing more of the, balancing the checkbook or paying the bills or something. But that doesn't mean the other spouse needs to be completely extricated and have no idea what's going on. They need to be involved too. It's a unit. And again, money fights, that's one of the biggest reasons of divorce is arguments over finances. So I think it's hugely important that couples discuss and really know what is going on many different levels and are in agreement. And if there's disagreement, that they are comfortable talking about it, that there's not, avoidance can be a big thing that comes into play with couples with money, and avoiding talking about money. And shame is also something I have seen come up with clients related to money. They have different spending habits, and really looking, how were they brought up? How was money talked about when they were growing up? How was money dealt with in their family? And that can really shine a light on how they're dealing with things now, and they can make a different choice if that's not really how they want to be.
It's so interesting you mentioned that. It seems like we all come from somewhere, and we all have different backgrounds, and we bring that into relationship. And I don't think we fully recognize. And sure, you may go. Let's say it's a married couple. They may go through premarital counseling before they get married, but it's like, oh, we're in love. We're not going to have those issues. And then all of a sudden, then we get there, and it's like, why are we butting heads so much? Why are we not seeing things eye to eye? And you're right. We need to recognize the uniqueness of each individual in a relationship, and recognize that we all have different backgrounds, and those things influence us. And if we're not careful, we can actually somehow use those experiences to shame or to manipulate. And that is not at all what we should be doing. And so working with someone to come alongside that to get to a good spot is so critically important from a coaching perspective. When I was thinking about coaching, I was thinking about the different personal values individuals have. And so we're talking about couples. Do you think it's best to walk through the same practice with couples to identify core values as you would individuals? Or is it's pretty much the same conversation, or is it a little bit different?
It's a little bit different. I mean, I think it is important to identify that with couples, but most likely they're not going to have the exact same values. Now, there definitely may be some crossover. So, maybe they have 5 primary core values, and maybe they have the same one or 2 of those 5, but, it'd be unlikely that all 5 are both of their top 5. I suppose it's possible, but I think that also helps just them understanding each other and understanding what's important to them in their life as we're all individuals. And so that helps them be able to support each other and each other's goals and desires and interests.
Yeah, it's interesting. Through our entire conversation today, I keep on thinking back. We have the 5 core principles that we think people need to really focus on in order to live an incredible life. It's to know your core values, set goals based upon your core values, be open to wise counsel, set financial resources to realize goals, and then to value your health. And I was just kind of chuckling to myself, thinking, Michelle, I never shared those with you, and yet the entire last 30 minutes, we just have kind of walked through all 5 of those in time, and I just think it's kind of uniquely amazing. To be honest with you,
alignment. There's alignment.
There is. Hey, and I want to. All of a sudden, I realized I was joking at the beginning about us just talking on and on, and here we are, 30 minutes, and so we all of a sudden have gotten to the end. But I was kind of thinking through just things in life, and I was thinking back how much I've learned from the people I've read and studied in the past. And so let's say you could spend 15 minutes just sitting down and talking with somebody. They could be living today. It could be someone that's passed away years ago or even centuries ago that you would think that'd be an interesting person to learn from. Who would that be for you and why?
For me, I think that would be Oprah Winfrey.
You think?
Yeah, I just really respect her and so impressed by what she's created, and her curiosity for learning and making change herself is just really inspiring.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, that's one I had not thought of my own, but now that you say that, it's like I would love to sit down and talk with her. She's lived an incredible life and impacted so many people in so many different ways. And just an incredible, thank you for bringing that up. That now I'm going to go back and research more on her, especially her early years and some of the failure and how she grew through it because she had to navigate change. And so, everybody, what's that?
I say she has a Super Soul podcast that's really awesome. Or she use people around that as well.
Yeah. I'll check that one out. So the Super Soul podcast with Oprah, that's a great recommendation, and everyone can check that one out. And so I'll tell you what, Michelle, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I'm just so thankful for the time we spent and just from the wisdom that you were able to deliver to everybody as far as how to navigate change and how do you walk through the process and to do it well, to get on the other side of change, not just the other side, but the journey of walking through it plus the other side with true joy and contentment with where you're at. And so phenomenal process and tremendous diverse background that has brought so much to the conversation today. Everybody, if you want to check out more as far as with Michelle, definitely go to her website, confluencecoaching.life, and that'll be in the show notes. You can also link to it and the phenomenal resources there and also ways to get in contact with Michelle if you want to actually work with her as far as from a coaching perspective. So Michelle, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be sure to connect with you next time we drop the next podcast next week. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you again for listening to the Great Decisions, Incredible Lives, Retire with Intention podcast with host John Creekmur. Follow us on social media, visit our website, and join our community of like-minded individuals redefining retirement and living incredible lives. Please leave us a review and share our podcast with others who may benefit. We wish you a future filled with purpose, fulfillment, and the joy of living your incredible life in retirement.